this child can scream her head off for a very long period of time. To the point where a couple of times I have actually called the police because I just wanted to check and make sure she was okay. Well, I guess she's okay. I'm not aware of anything happening as a result of my calls. I know that the police did visit them, but I don't know that anything came of it. So anyway, this kid downstairs screams and yells a lot, and she sounds like she's having a temper tantrum, basically. So sometimes when she starts screaming, especially if I'm making a very quiet video, automatically I start talking faster, I think in an attempt to cover up the racket coming from below this apartment. It's the same with the people above me. It seems that they like to rearrange their furniture a lot, either that or they have a bowling alley in their bedroom, because quite often you will hear very loud things being dropped on the floor over and over and over, to the it's a picture of my mom, and I'm not really sure how old it is. She has on a wedding ring, so it was after she and my dad got married. And this is my mom. And I would say this was probably taken in the early 60s. But, see, she has darker hair than I do. And this necklace here, it almost looks like a buffalo nickel, but I'm not really sure what that is. But, when my mom and dad got married, my dad was in the Navy. He was a CB, combat battalion, and they lived out in California for a while. And my dad was in the Vietnam War, and I think my mom stayed in California during that time. I'm not really sure. They moved around quite a bit when they first got married. But this is a picture of my mom sometime after they got married. And they were married for 33 years. And then they separated right after I moved out and went off to college. Within 2 months they had separated. And I realized later that they were basically just waiting for both of their kids to be gone to separate. I mean, they stayed together longer because of my brother and me, and they really should have separated before they did, but that's all water under the bridge. But yeah, so that's my mom. Oh. This I bought to put on a t-shirt, and I never actually got around to doing it, and it ended up getting stuck in here. This is an iron-on transfer, and it's a big shirt that you can iron onto a shirt or a jacket or whatever you want to iron it on. And it shows the evolution of man, and then like an atomic bomb, and then he looks like that. I bought this on eBay. I thought it was funny. And it comes in this little plastic sleeve. So I was going to put this on a t-shirt, and then it just never happened. I got busy and it just didn't happen. I actually have to keep that out and see if I can find a t-shirt to put that on. Oh wow. This is, I actually remember having this done. This is a little portfolio from the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, and it has some first aid information on it, just some little first aid tips on it. But inside we have something, and I actually remember having this done. This is where they took her fingerprints, and I remember some of the sheriff's deputies coming to the school where I went to school. See my fingerprints? I remember the sheriff's deputies coming to our school and fingerprinting all of us. This was back in the early 80s when people started really freaking out about child abductions. So they wanted to have our fingerprints on file in case we ever went missing. So I guess they could dust places for our fingerprints or something. I don't know, but they gave this, and they took all of our fingerprints, and then they gave these to us to take home to our parents to keep. she still kind of smells like strawberries a little bit. She had when you buy them, when you bought them, they had this faint smell of, it was supposed to smell like strawberries, but it actually just kind of smells like fake strawberry flavoring or something. I mean, it didn't really smell like strawberries at all. It was supposed to, but it just smelled like fake flavoring or something. Anyway, these are not the clothes that she came with. spent so much money on that stupid car. But I do still have the plate that was on the front. Like I said, there are lots of cards in here and letters. Oh my goodness. I know some of you youngsters might not believe it, but people used to write letters. And that's why I say, write a letter to someone if you really want somebody to know that you care. Write them a letter, because chances are they'll keep it. Everybody gets excited to get mail, and how long has it been since you got a letter from anybody? I'm gonna find one to talk. I can't remember the last time I wrote a letter. I should do that. I used to do it pretty regularly, but I haven't done it in a while. Let's see, I have bunches of cards. Oh, there are more. And letters. And notes. My God. See? Stacks and stacks. What's this? This is something. Oh. This was somebody I used to work with read the first book I ever wrote, and it was really bad. It was a really bad book, but she was kind enough to write a critique of my book. She actually liked it for the most part, but she did have some things to say about it. It was awful, absolutely awful. But she knew that I was writing it, and she asked that when I get done that I let her read it, so I let her read it. She told me what she thought of it. This is a little cookbook, and I remember we did this. I think we did this in either kindergarten or first grade, and it's special recipes. And we were supposed to make this in class and then give it to our moms. I think we were going to give it to them for Mother's Day or something. And I wrote, "I love you" on here. Oh, it was kindergarten. You can see here the letters kind of spilling down onto the plate, and it says kindergarten. And we all had to contribute a recipe to the book. And mine is on the very first page. I gave them a recipe for eggs. Fry it, turn it over, shake your pan, take plate out, put salt on egg, and eat it. Well, thank goodness I explained that. That cleared everything up. Some of these recipes are hilarious. Like, hold on a second. Some of these, they obviously got the instructions from their parents. But, oh yeah, like, here's one. This is funny. Here's a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. First of all, you need 1 roll of chocolate chip cookie dough. Slice it, put in oven, and bake 15 minutes at 10 degrees. 10 degrees. Get it out of oven and put in dish. Eat them. Yeah, here's one here. Baking a cake at 50 degrees for 20 minutes. I mean, it's... Oh. Pink cake. Cook for 12 minutes at 3 degrees. Oh my God. But my mom kept this, and I'm so glad she did, because there's the name of every kid with every recipe, and the people in here that I'm friends with on Facebook. I took a picture of it and tagged them in it so they could see it. It's like, wow, I should try to make your cake, cook it at 10 degrees. We'll see how that turns out. Lots of letters. Oh my God. Tons of letters here. Let's see. I used to love to write poems. And I would write them on all kinds of bits and scraps of paper. there's a picture of the ring. This I remember I took this picture myself with the camera, and I had a hard time getting it to focus on my hand. But I took a picture of it, and that was my fiance's mother's ring, and she was killed in a car crash when he was only 5 years old, and his grandmother raised him after that. stuff in my lap. There's another picture of me. I wrote something on the back. I'm trying to figure it out. This is me. That is also in 95. I know because I was still living in Wilmington at that time. And I took that picture myself. Wow. These are pictures that I took around the house where I grew up. Wow. Oh, I gotta show you these. I don't remember taking these, but I'm glad I did. First of all, I have to show you this. Okay. I was engaged at 16, and it was to a young man who was always in trouble, in and out of court, in and out of jail, and he was always getting in trouble for this, that, and the other, breaking and entering, larceny, just petty theft, just selling dope. I mean, he was just constantly in trouble. But you couldn't tell me anything. I was in love. I had stars in my eyes, I loved him. Here we are, walking hand in hand. This is he's the skinny one. That's him and that's me. And this was taken back in 1990. This was taken at a family reunion, I think. That's my mom in the background. But yeah, he was something. These are some black and white pictures that I took. I don't even remember taking these, but I'm really glad that I did. It says here I took these in 1999. This was my dad's shop. He had a gun shop. He was a gunsmith when I was growing up, and he slowly.